Hi guys, what's up? I'm gonna be back later, but I just wanted to show you my growing hair. Like what? Look at that. Y'all, apple cider vinegar mixed with water really helps to deal with product buildup. You should probably really deeply consider it. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. My hair. Like this baby is growing. She's growing. She's growing. She's growing. Like what? Hey. My strategy is working. Like, yeah, it's working. My strategy is working. Hi, how's in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl Cake Karabo. I hope you're good. I hope you're peachy. I hope you're stellar. And I hope you're in a neat little bunch. It's getting nippy. It's becoming winter, like proper. Trying to ignore my hair. I'm in the process of changing it up. This bun that you're looking at the back over there is all new. So it's Friday, so that means that I'm gonna have more free time on the weekend, on Saturday and on Sunday, to finish the rest of my head up, because I've only been able to do like 3 a day, 2 a day, 5 a day during this week. But on the weekends I have a little bit more time on my hands, so we want to finish then. It's taking a week. Anyway, you're probably wondering, what are you talking about? Don't nobody care. It's okay. It's alright. Nobody listens to my content anyway, so I can afford to just dilly-dally and meander and wander around useless topics until I get to the point, because I don't anticipate that I'm going to be getting viewed any minute now, until God does a thing. I don't know. Until the rapture or the tribulation, or until God decides that open the floodgates of heaven, let it rain. Then only maybe I'll be careful to like not bore you with long winding introductions. Alrighty, let's just get straight into it. Kindly look out. Let me just put out some caveats out there. Watch out for my captions. They're not always accurate. They sometimes use a small g for God. They're sometimes irreverent. They sometimes are misspelled or the wrong word altogether. All that jazz. Yeah, well, if I had incentive to, like I just highlighted earlier, I would edit them, but I currently don't. So one day in the future, God willing, I'll get to doing them. But for now, please don't imagine me one who is a bad speller or anti-grammatical or whatever. I just don't have time to edit them, not for my long form content. And then I'm also very potentially wearing app makeup. You will know if I am, you will know also if I'm not. If it bounces off and on my face, it's an app, so it will do stuff like that. I'm not shape-shifting. And then I have a segment that I just want to get out of the way, pinch my cheek to try and bring out a blush, to show you that when you prick me I bleed, when you roll over me with a steamroller I probably pass away, when you shoot me I might end up in hospital with critical injuries. In other words, I'm human, and people are not treating me like I'm human, but very soon I do believe that that's going to ultimately be called out. I don't know if I achieved to get a blush. If not, it's okay really. Another story for it, like Papa. Tomorrow's another day. Should we have tomorrow? Should we not get raptured? I don't know. I'll be here and it'll pop then. Okay, let's just move on. So today's the 11th of May 2024. It's not actually the 11th, it's the 10th. I've popped over into the next day. Y'all know that is the wee hours of the morning. It's a particularly whatever day. So yesterday was really terrible. I was going through it. I had a lot of demonic attack that was all up in my grill, to a point where I slept even during the day, and I was lamenting about all of this wickedness going on all over the show. Amazingly, by the grace of God, today I was better. Sorry. I conquered. Today I am better. Like the demonic attack that was sitting on my chest, all up in my grill, dissipated. So I'm better today. So that's good, right? So let's have a congratulatory moment, shall we? But despite being better, I am still being chased and pursued by the same exact stuff, and I'm gonna talk at length about it now, just highlighting it. If you know, I repeat myself a lot in my ministry, because literally the same issues keep plaguing, never mind me, but many people. So I guess it's necessary therefore to reverberate them, to highlight them, to continue to raise the issues. It is necessary. Anywho, so y'all, yesterday I was speaking about all of these men with their korobela and their insistence on taking women that don't want them, and because this stuff is spiritual and therefore has the appearance of anonymous, they anticipate that they can just keep going back to the drawing board. They become especially violent and narcissistic with witchcraft, because witchcraft is hard to detect. Okay, And I spoke about how it is that by any means necessary, they're prepared to do this thing. Well, today I was corroborated. I was given a corroboration. Actually, it wasn't even today. It was, okay, I guess it all counts as yesterday. It all counts as yesterday. It's totally still yesterday because I was still awake, but it feels like today. You get my point. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, before I went to bed, just when I was like uploading my shorts, right? After uploading my shorts, sorry, I saw this like thing on YouTube that made me click on it. Like, yeah, a video that was uploaded by a brother in Christ, Vision Unsealed. I spoke about him the other day. He had newly posted a video about a woman who unalived herself. She committed suicide. Yeah, I don't know why people don't like using that word. Like, does the algorithm have problems with it? Look, it appears everything has problems with me, so I can just say whatever I want. All right, anyway, whatever. Cool beans and bananas. Either way, I'm just not getting viewed, whether or not I don't use, like, for instance, when Kanye West decided to start doing pornography, I used the word pornography, like all of it. But like, there's like Christians out here using corn, zorn, dorn, sporn. I'm like, why? What, does YouTube all of a sudden just make your content available to fewer and fewer people? Look, insofar as you are not licentious in your conversation, and insofar as you're not also pornographic in your conversation, the details are not explicit, I feel as if though it is okay to use certain terminology insofar as it is within a responsible context. Like doctors, for instance, are always talking about things that, you know, some of us consider kind of taboo, but they're doctors, and so therefore they have to use certain terminology in order that they might understand one another instead of just shying away from the word. Like the word for a woman's nether regions, the V word, is just such a big fat taboo to be utilized by people in this world, so they would much rather call it all different kinds of weird stuff, while doctors just call it exactly what it is because they're within a professional space. So I just feel as if though if you are within a professional context, you can just use full terminology. If you are doing a video calling out a person for starting a pornography site, it's not like you are describing explicitly what happens therein. You're just making mention of the fact that some human being is out here starting a pornography site. Yo, I don't know. Look, maybe the algorithm does have a glitch and a twitch about it. Perhaps it's AI and it's practically reaching singularity. I don't know. So therefore, can't nobody trust it. So you gotta use the word corn. I'm sorry. For me, a word is a word is a word. You're not giving it graphic details. You're not being explicit. You're just being professional in the usage of said terminology as this. So just use the word as it is, for crying out loud. Like, proper censorship is not that intense. It's not that bad. It is, but it's not as well. Like, I don't think it's not that irrational. It's not just gonna be like, just buzz you out. Anyway, whatever. Maybe some people are just sensitive to hearing that word, but I mean, goodness gracious. Anyway, whatever. Let's just move right past ahead. The word suicide is now euphemized all over the world on YouTube by all different kinds of other terminologies like unalive and this and that and blah 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 blah. Yo, it's suicide. Like, is that basic? They don't want to use the word dead. They don't want to use killed. Like, they're dead and they're killed. Like, anyway, whatever. I labored on that unnecessarily for so long. Like, proper, I'm wasting time. I meandered. Let's get back straight to the point. What just happened over there? Don't give me grief, phone. Am I running out of space? Is that why that just happened? Do I have no space in my computer? Not computer, my cell phone. Cell phone. Is there no space? Nah, there's space here. I'm pretty sure there's space. I deleted the other day. Like, proper, there is space. I did not see what I just saw. It's paranoia. I'm gonna keep on talking. Shall I? Ugh, I hate, like, clip after clip, adding clip after clip just to doubly check that I'm cool still. I'm not doing it. Like, proper, we're just gonna keep on talking. Okay? My content is uploading over there. I'll stop recording then, yeah, when it's done uploading, and then I upload the remaining 15 parts. Let's just talk about a situation, this whole thing that I have been lamenting about with ungodly men insisting on being with God's daughters. Let me just not make it about men, but ungodly people insisting on being with God's people. I did, like right now I'm doing shorts from long form content where I spoke about this particular topic. Yesterday, same story. Did shorts from long form content where I spoke about the same topic. It's like it's largely what I just keep talking about. The pursuit of God's children by ungodly people and the disastrous outcomes. There is a story doing its rounds right now in the United States of America where a woman by the name of Micah Miller Mika Miller. A lot of people in the Christian community have covered the story, and that's how I happened upon it. And the first person that I listened to was Vision Unsealed, and then I listened to Naphtali 1981. And there's quite a few other Christians that have also covered the topic, but I did not really listen to the rest of them because they all, I mean, you've said it once, you've said it all. Like, yeah, so I'm not going to just reiterate the message and my understanding just for no other reason than the fact that I can do reiterations. But yeah, guys, this woman, her story, when I listened to it last night before I slept, alright, it just kept ruminating in my mind over and over and over again before I could fall asleep. Whenever I would wake up out of sleep for whatever reason, because I was being disturbed in my sleep, struggling to sleep, I would think about her all day. She's been just getting popped in my mind as basically a victim of what happens when, as a woman, right, likely maybe as a man, but we tend to be the ones that suffer the most abuse as women under these ungodly people. When you marry somebody thinking that they're godly, and then they just show you like flames. I'm gonna be back. I checked it worked. Anyway, when you marry someone thinking that you're marrying a Christian, except do you really think you're marrying a Christian? And then they show you some super hard knock, intense, feverish, like coals and everything. Flames. Yo, it's the thing I keep talking about. It's a topic in my ministry that's hot and bothering. I am being, like, just this morning I woke up to hear yet again more insistences by demonic men, ugly little satanic mongrels, trying to take me by force, trying to marry a woman that does not belong to them, trying to make themselves look like they're God's children. Listen guys, okay? There are consequences, and the story with Micah Miller, it just, guys, it's heartbreaking. It speaks to the very thing that I have been warning on a loop about. Entering into a marriage with some Christ-professing buffoon that does not know God from a bar of soap. And then you end up dead. You, as a woman, end up dead. You, who was the impressionable one ignoring all the red flags, end up dead. They're all over these streets. 1 second. You know, when a man is cute, when he's really handsome, all good looking, sometimes you can be tempted to just comprehensively disregard red flags. Or when you are going through a lot and you just need any kind of comfort, you need anybody to pamper you, and you are aware of something that is intensely wicked inside a person that is the only one giving you comfort for now, saying they're there. You can be tempted to just capitulate, but the ramifications in the end, the consequences ultimately, guys, are excruciating. Like, just excruciating. My lament, I'm so distracted by something else happening on the side here, and I want to be able to focus on what it is that I'm focusing on without having to look at it. So, right now, 1 second. The Bible makes it clear that we will know them by their fruit. Okay, I did a video a couple of days ago talking about how it is that a lot of times women, I guess men too, but my ministry is largely targeted to women. If anything, it's just targeted to women. Alright, when you find yourself married to an ungodly man, that when you met, he was ungodly, but talking all of the Christianese that you speak, there is no way under heaven that a loving father in heaven, there is no way under heaven when you are truly born again, his daughter, consecrated, that he did not warn you. There is no way under heaven that some random fool with a flying kick like a bat out of hell of korobela, sorcery, witchcraft, love spells, there is no way that you did not get some kind of a siren, an alarm bell, things, trinkets, like just go ding, 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 ding. Like, there is no way. There is no way that God did not warn you. I like to say that you cannot anticipate that Jesus is going to rock up literally on your wedding day like a lightning strike and just tell you to your face, no, you're not marrying this guy. He's God. He's not coercive. He is gently leading, and he is very loud in that gentle leading, in that you will know that you know that you know when something is just off, when it's not sitting right, when someone just does not make sense. Like, guys, even in a secular space where you don't even know God, you are not his daughter yet, there are still warning signs when a guy just doesn't make sense, man. Like, I'll give you an example with me. My ex-boyfriend, when I met him, my cousin told me after our interactions that he likes me. And the first thing I said to my cousin over the phone when she was telling me that this dude likes you, I was like, I'm not sure. Something about him is criminal. There's something about, literally those were my words, verbatim. I said something about him is criminal. There is something criminal about him, like a dishonesty that is criminal in particular. Criminal. I had never ever gotten that sense from any guy before that's ever asked me out. No one. But I got a sense of criminality in him. I said that to my cousin on the phone. And guess what my cousin said? I agree. My cousin is the very same one that wreaks havoc in my life today, that I'm always complaining about. And as lost as she was then and still is today, and as lost as I was then, however I'm saved today, even she got that gut feeling. Even she had it. But she did not highlight that that was a thing until I raised it. I said, I'm already sure something about him is kind of criminal. And she's like, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. There is something criminal about this guy. Months later, I was with him. Months later, I was dating him. I ignored that gut feeling, that thing that was sitting in the core of my stomach, and I would endure a relationship for years, going from that point going forward, where I would have to restore stolen watches to one of his friends because he hid them in my boot. I would have to stop my bank card, my check card, because he disappeared with it over the weekend. Just swiping and swiping and swiping and swiping it with, I lost about 2,500 rand over that weekend. And how he even got my PIN code was because my mom loaned my card from me to loan money from me. And I gave her my card and I told him my PIN code while my boyfriend was standing in a distance. He overheard and memorized it. And then the next weekend, my bank card was gone from my wallet. I would then endure on 2 occasions where we were clubbing, we were partying. And I would send him to the ATM to withdraw 300 bucks so we could drink. And he would withdraw 300 bucks and then another 300 bucks. And on the bank statement, when it came, even though I was not one to pedantically check, one time I checked and I noticed 2 transactions of 300 bucks. He kept 300 for himself. And twice, on 2 occasions, this happened. And I imagine that since I busted him the first time and he recovered the money to me, he paid me back, that he would never do it again. And he did it again. That was my ex. He was a thief. He was a criminal. He was dishonest. And before I could even give him my number, before I even knew him, I had only had a conversation with him for like maybe just a few hours is long, man. Like maybe an hour. Because my cousin's boyfriend was driving him home, us home, all of us. And we were sitting together in the back of the car, the back seat. And we had a conversation the whole time. And he decided that he has a crush on me. And when he told my cousin, I like your cousin, please like slide in a good word for me. My response to my cousin was, I'm not sure about him. Something about him is criminal. And my cousin, who also did not have much understanding of his life and what goes on therein, said to me, I agree. That ungodly female, and in all fairness, I was also ungodly at the time, agreed with me. So I mentioned the ungodliness because none of us were saved. And yet God's common grace was applicable. God's common grace was soaring like an eagle. God's common grace that he awards to society at large lets women know. And of course men too. But my ministry is largely targeted towards women, okay? He lets people know that it's gonna get high. This is not a good place to be. Like this, God is always warning the human race. He is so loving. He is so loving. He is always telling them, And the how eerily accurate the gut feeling, the conscience, that sense of knowing, that how much he pushes it into your spirit, the accuracy of it will be, guys, that's why it's written in God's word that the invisible qualities of God are all over creation, and that's why we're without excuse. It will be eerily accurate. Eerily accurate. I could have said something about this guy's giving domestic violence. I could have said something about this guy's giving cheat, like prolific philanderer, fraternizing with everybody in the office. Something about this guy is giving dishonest, or something about this guy is giving insincere or unloving. I could have picked up, my gut could have just told me any myriad of things, any plethora of things, but it chose criminal. I like my cousin, that dishonest female, that psychopathic witch. If she was honest and the two of us were still tight, she would corroborate my testimony. How we both were on the phone on some agreeing that this dude, something about him is giving gangster, criminal. That's how eerily accurate my suspicions were, inspired by nothing but a gut feeling. I had no prior knowledge about him, no prior understanding. I did not I had nothing to push me to that place. And yet I got there. and I was lost. How much more if God can do that for a lost woman? If God can give that kind of gut feeling to lost women, one of which today is still lost, how much more then will he give that to saved women, saved people? How much more will he look out for you who is now indwelt by the Holy Spirit? There is no way that you walk down the aisle to your criminal boyfriend without knowing that he's a Ginsari. There's something in him. One day you're gonna besuka. One day you're gonna besuka. One day you are going to be, who is that chick? Megan Good out here talking about how you gonna be ride or die to a man in prison because you're in the music video. You're 21 Questions with 50 Cent. You out here visiting a man in prison. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna always love you, because you are romanticizing being ride or die to a dastardly beast that's going to make a perfectly classy woman go to a correctional facility to go and like literally visit some irresponsible buffoon that made a decision to break her heart, put her in her lonely life because she's in love with a man that's behind bars. Like, yo. You know, women, when we are falling in love, we romanticize all different kinds of nonsense. And me personally, I have a problem, generational curse. I've got a generational curse. I don't have it anymore. I'm born again now. I'm redeemed, set free. He came to set the captives free. Hallelujah. Chains have been loosed from me. But my mom. I'm sorry. There are two boyfriends of my mom's that I remember that we used to go and see in prison. Besuking. Archie sending some bananas and peaches. Like, and she's taking her kids with, like, proper. So, like, yeah. At the time, I didn't think anything of it because we were young. Very, very young. Very young. Like, as in like primary school age. Both my older sister and I. Too young to be wondering. But why is mom still with this guy? She met him when he was out roaming the streets, hopping like a kangaroo, free as a bird. And then somewhere along the way, the guy gets arrested. And then we would travel. One guy was put in maximum security. It was so far. It was so far. Like, you know, when a criminal is so gangster that they don't want him just here at Aikenhof. They don't want him just here at Sun City. Where you can just, you know, take a 5-minute drive, a 15, a 20-minute drive. Nah, where you have to literally leave the province. I'm getting hot from laughing. You gotta get out. You gotta get out of, what do you call this? You gotta get out of the province. You have to leave Johannesburg to go see your prison love burn. My mom used to go there at least once a month. And when we would go, literally it would be like, I'm sorry to laugh. Like, we would, like, and she would ship us with, my older sister and I were always with her. The way it was so far, this joint, this prison, this maximum security prison, it was like an island. It was like Devil's Island in the movie Papillon. Like when criminals are so extreme that they've got to put them far. It was like Robben Island. You gonna die there or you gonna swim and try to get to shore and get shot trying to leave. Like, you're not getting out. Like, you're not leaving. Because where you gonna go? Like, there's nothing but dry, arid, patchy land. Like, desert. There is no way that a man would go to that prison having been incarcerated in Johannesburg. Unless he was like a hard-knock gangster. So, I don't know what that man did. But he went to a maximum security prison that was built far into the Bundus, precisely to eradicate escape and make sure that those who try to escape don't get very far. But and every time we had to go there, okay, guys, like, have you ever planned a trip with the whole family? With the whole family, like, everybody's going to Lesotho. Everybody's going to Lesotho. You're all from Lesotho, but you live in Johannesburg. And so you have together the cousins, all of them. Cousins from Pimville, cousins from Roodepoort, other cousins from Sandton. And it's Christmas time. And you're all going to Lesotho. Because that's where you grew up. That's grandmother's house. You don't just take your own individual cars and drive there. and be like, I'll see you in Lesotho, right? It's a planned thing, like where it is that you will park certain people's cars at one person's house and you will drive together there. You will hire sometimes like a caravan. And all of y'all then just kind of, club together, you convoy maybe. Because you're all going to Lesotho. I'm so sorry. You're all going to Lesotho. And I mean, of course, you're going to Lesotho, so... Like, guys, how many of you have ever gone to, like, Sun City? Like, guys, I'm sorry. Like, this is my... Like... I don't even know why I know what Sun City correctional facility looks like on the inside. Why do I know that? Okay, I need to switch off the electric blanket because it's getting really hot. Listen, okay. Let's talk about this one prison. The name of it was Morabi, yes. Like, this man's relatives and my mom and his boys, his friends, just anyone that wanted to go and see him, they would make like that family going to listen. They would meet. They would meet in one geographical location and then convoy or use one vehicle to go together. And they would pack like mofago, like lots of food. No, not for the prisoner only, but for us too. Because somewhere along the way we're gonna get hungry. It's like going to Durban. This prison was so far that I don't even remember one time when my mom went with me and my sister only, and that it was just like us. There was always like his family, guys. It was like a planned trip to go out of city, out of province. I was a kid, too young to remember where exactly it was, but I do remember that the name of the prison was Morabi. I don't know if it still exists. Yeah, like that level of Besuka. And I know what Sun City Correctional Facility looks like inside, because yet another one, like the one dude was down, it was here in these streets, like just here in Naturina, but the other one was in Morabi. The other one was in maximum security, far away in an island where evade a capture schmapture, like I can escape. One of them, however, was just here in Sun City. And like Megan Good, my mama be answering 21 questions. If I was arrested, would you come Besuka me? Yes, I like what? Yeah, I know what Sun City. I never Sun City. Okay, the Aiken of one, the one there in Sandton. I went there because my ex-boyfriend's brother was incarcerated. But Sun City, it was because it was my mom's boyfriend, and Morabi was my mom's boyfriend. All 3 times I've been to a correctional facility, the inside of it, to go and besuk someone. Not someone that I knew, not someone that I personally had any interest in, but because I was accompanying some people that know some people in jail. Like my life is just so weird. It's been weird, and it's weirder still today. I was set up to end up. I was literally set up to end up. And now, in and of myself personally taking a trip to Sun City, it was bound to happen. Because even the one where I was going to Aikenhof, I've been there twice to go and see my ex's brother. Not myself in my own capacity. His family was always there. My ex, of course, why would I want to go visit my ex-boyfriend, my boyfriend's brother in prison? But just the fact that his brother was in jail. Like, do you understand what that implies? Do you, like, just the fact that his biological brother was in prison and I grew up out here going to Sun City and Morabi to go and see my mom's men, alright, at different times in my upbringing is problematic, because it says that I've got a generational curse, and I had already started to attract these dastardly jailbirds. Listen, alright, I've seen Sun City because of besuking one of my mom's men, because my mom was taking us with, she just took us with, alright, and Morabi too. And the next time was with my boyfriend. I might not have been going there to see my own man, but I was 5 seconds away from it, because the very man that I was going to go and see the brother of with him and his family, right, was the one that I said to my cousin something about him as criminal. Here it is that a man has got this like gene in his body, and it looks very eerily much like I'm going to end up me besuking There was a time when outside of Carfax, you know that club, Carfax, my ex had just done another stunt, and I was talking with him on some dude. You and I have been together now a couple of years. We might end up getting married. We might end up therefore having children. I don't want to besuka. I told him that. I was like, I don't want to. I was like, I was like, I don't want to besuk my husband. Those of you who don't understand what besuk is, it's the what is this? It's an Afrikaans word that stands for visiting a person in usually in jail, prison, but it could be like in a hospital, basically where a person is temporarily sheltered or where they're sheltered away from home. It's called to besuk. And yeah, I did not want, like, I was like, I proper told my ex that I don't wanna besuk you, bringing my children, for crying out loud, to a jail to come and see their dad. Angfunu besuka. And I also don't want to mourn as a widow. You are a criminal, dude. You are a criminal. And you need to stop this thing. And you also want to get into business and what have you. If you are yet to start a business and you're this crooked now, what are you going to do when you're a businessman? You're going to money launder, dude. You're going to racketeer. I try to speak sense into this dude. But I mean, look at us, eh? Sitting in a car, music in a club, just here. Go Carfax. How are you going to speak any sense into a dude outside of a club? First and foremost, I was naive. But anyway, that was me after telling a man that you're going to ask me those 50 cent 21 questions and I'm not going to give you a Megan Good response. I don't want to visit you in jail, dude. But I also don't want to be that baby mama that does not want to see her baby daddy in jail. Just leave him to rot. But I just saw history repeating itself. Nothing ever changed. By the grace of God, we broke up. But that boyfriend of mine for 5, the one that I lasted with for that long, was the only one that had that criminal streak in him. Everybody else earlier was not like that. It's almost as if though I was destined to end up with a man that would make me just like my mom, because my dad was not criminal and my mom married him. Do you understand? So, and my dad was not the best of men, okay? He sucked, but he certainly was not criminal. He was, if he did not sell his life to the bottle, become an alcoholic, he would have been like a lawyer and stuff like that, like just a regular corporate guy with a 9 to 5, not a person making money crooked ways. So I don't know what made my mom tarry from a lawyer to somebody that's making money by any means necessary, pulling rugs from people's feet, you know, just, you don't know how I'm making money, baby, but hey, look at you wearing some Jimmy Choos. Start out in that space where you're out, you're married to a solicitor, and then next thing you're a gangster's girlfriend. For real? Is that what we're doing? Yeah, guys. Anyway, I was bound, that's what I'm getting at, to end up just like my mom, because of the fact that none of my exes before my ex were criminal. None of them had that streak in them. None of them. He was the first. And by the amazing grace of God, the last. Why? Because I got born again. I got saved at 26. So I dodged a bullet. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that whole thing, that you sense about someone from the very get-go, it's always there. And sometimes you also even have like stories across the board. Sometimes you even have your history, your family's generational curses to run with. Like, you know what kind of man your mom married, or what kinds of boyfriends your mom was with, if at all she didn't stay married to your dad. If your dad was abusive, you will have men like those flood to you because of the generational curse that wants to continue to be lingered in your particular bloodline. And it is your prerogative to run from it, to flee, to make sure that you don't end up exactly what it is that your parent was. So if your dad never used to slap your mom silly, but they got divorced, and then next thing your mom's boyfriend, when you were like 13, is out here hitting your mom in front of you. That happened with me. Like proper, like, you know, like a violent man that out here is laying hands on your mom and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You're a kid. All you can do is scream and stand in the way and try to make sure that this guy does not land a punch in your face, but he's hitting your mom. But it never happened when you were with your dad. Yeah, that tells you the trajectory of bad dating decisions that you will make if you don't seriously consider what God has to say about you, who you are in Him, and what you must wait on Him for. You will start with some dude that's a cheat, but he'll never lay a hand on you. And then the next one will slap you because you found him cheating. He will beat you up because you found him cheating. And then you will come to learn that, my goodness, my mom was exactly like that. She stayed with some deadbeat that she could not question because somehow she just felt bound to him. And it would take ABC for them to finally break up. But, you know, I remember that. And you will wake up literally when you've got like a 5-eye, a blue eye, and a 5-finger sur on your face. And you'd be like, goodness, I am totally my mom. Like, I am my mother's daughter now. I was going to be my mom's daughter. Given that, I started out just dating men with a criminal streak. I could tell. And that same thing is still to this day pursuing me. These dastardly men that make their money in a shoddy way. They're dishonest. They're criminals. They're occult practitioners. In their waking life even, they're criminals. They don't just do crimes in the occult. They don't just do human sacrifices. They don't just do what do you call this, like money transfer rituals where they're stealing people's stars. They also are actively racketeering. They're actively accepting and giving bribes. They're actively extorting. They're actively money laundering. They're doing that. They're just yet to get caught. So essentially Karabo is facing a future if she embraces any of these buffoons of, look at you, Karabo, come be now, visiting your husband. You are out here besuking a multi-millionaire that finally had the law catch up with him. And he's priding himself in the fact that his wife is out here visiting him with their 4 children. What the? Like, in the world is going on there? And then you wake up and you're like, oh, whoa, from like a strange nightmare. A horrible nightmare on some, oh my goodness, is this deja vu? Is this deja vu? Like, taking out the toko from your eyes because you proper don't know if you're really seeing double because, oh, my mama did it. Deja vu. It's pursuing me. It's pursuing me. But this is not about me. This is about my Camilla, and it is about you, who is likely in that position. There is no way under heaven that you're gonna end up in a marriage as a consecrated, blood-bought, born-again believer in the Lord Jesus Christ with a man that is that dastardly without having been given the intensity of gut feeling that I had on the first day that I met my ex, to a point of telling my cousin something about him was criminal. And I still dated him. I lingered 5 years. He showed me flames within the first couple of months, and I stayed another 4 years. I should have left early. That day when I found those watches in my boot. After fighting his friend. It was at his boy's restaurant. Some boy of his out here on some, give me your car keys, I want to go and check your car. And I was like, how dare you? No way. How dare you accuse my man? The next morning I go to my boot. Something tells me check in the boot. And there they are. I had to restore those watches to that dude. I should have left him that very day. But I stayed. I was 5 seconds away from Besuk. I mean, if that guy had ended up in prison, I wasn't going to Besuk. I wasn't going to do it. Heck no. What's a 23-year-old doing Besuking? And what? I got my future ahead. I would have left him to rot. Let his sister and mom and everybody go visit him. I wasn't going to do it. But he never ended up there. By the grace of God. I don't know what in the world he's doing today. But like, I would not be surprised to hear in the grapevine that he has been arrested, or to see it in the news for some kind of like corporate tax evasion. I would not be surprised. He had that criminal streak. It dwelt in him. I tried when I got born again. Proverbs 1 speaks about ill-gotten gain, not Proverbs 1. Is it Proverbs 1 or 2 or 3? I think it's Proverbs 1 and 2 or 3. Or is it Psalm? No, it's definitely Proverbs 2, I think. Speaking about my son, do not take your heart over to ill-gotten gain. I read him Proverbs 3. I read him Proverbs 3. I was like, dude, this is what the Bible has to say about ill-gotten gain. You have that in you. You know you have it in you. We've been talking outside of clubs and everything, but this time around I was born again. And I was like, something in you is criminal and you know that. This is what the Bible has to say about ill-gotten gain. Meditate on these scriptures so that you can, given that you are, entering into business and everything, so you can stay your hand from getting the money that you might not end up in prison one day and have your whole life taken away from you. Yeah, try to evangelize the dude. It didn't work because all these years down the line he's still involved in shoddy behavior. That's what's good. So my redemption saved me, and then I tried to save the man that was my curse. It didn't work, but it definitely saved me. My salvation snatched me out from the prospect of ending up in that space. So your gut feeling, this is what I'm getting at, that you have always had in and out of the faith, whether or not you knew God, is the reason why no woman can turn around and blame God for their deadbeat husband. You cannot blame God for your deadbeat marriage. You can't. Because a lot of times there tended to have been something that told you from the very first time. The very first time you met. The first date. Certain things that he said. Oh goodness, our first date, guys, it was littered with red flags. Littered. They were being vomited out of his mouth. And I still went on a second date. Yeah. And a third and a fourth. And 5 years later, we broke up. Finally, officially. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I still stayed with red flags from day one to the last day. Like, I was being flashed by God The whole time. The whole time. So do you not get flashed by God? Even on your wedding day? On your wedding night? You've already married him, but now God is flashing you to at least escape murder. To at least escape suicide. To at least escape, like proper, when God is still flashing you in a marriage. God hates divorce. But if God is busy flashing you in a marriage, it says this place is so dangerous that I don't want you here. That I do not want you here, because if you stay here, you're going to end up in a casket. You're going to end up dead. When God is still giving you a sirens inside a marriage, dude, then of course you ignored them before then. You ignored them voluminously before then, but he still cares enough for you to at least save your life. To at least save your life. The Holy Spirit leads us into all truth. That's what's written in God's word. When you get born again, when we get saved, the Lord makes it clear that we are not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Okay? If at all you have any respect for your faith as a Christian, you will respect that decree. So if you make a determination as a godly woman that you're not going to be married to a man that's ungodly, of course you're going to avoid the dude that's still in the club, the dude that's still drinking it up a storm of drunk, the dude that's still out just snorting lines of cocaine, the dude that's still out here philandering, asking all the girls in the school out. You're going to avoid him. You're going to avoid the guy that's obviously irreligious, the guy that is obviously unbelieving. You're going to avoid him. No matter how cute he is, the Casanova in the office that every girl is flirting with, that he's flirting back with, but then that every so often looks at you and winks, you're going to be like, oh, whatever, no. Because he's obviously unbelieving. It's easy to avoid the obviously unbelieving. It's easy. It's easy. No matter how cute he might be, there was a guy like that at MTN. He was tall. He was. I used to like to say about him the way that guy was so handsome and so graceful, in the way gracious, in the way that he walked. That he did not walk. He used to glide. I used to say that guy never walked. He glided. And my colleague and I used to essentially gossip him before my redemption on some, oh my goodness, who is that dude? Everybody, he was a black man, tall Ghanaian, glorious monstrosity, okay? That was just walking around. Even white women were out just spazzing over that dude. Everybody was sweating, fainting, okay, about him. We came to discover that he was married, and so it was like hands off type thing. However, this dude, every single body was, women were throwing themselves at him. Total alpha male. So you would imagine that if a dude like that all of a sudden is like, all the girls in the school playground, I don't care about them, it's you again. When a guy like that, when never mind everybody's spazzing over, but in and of yourself you also find him attractive. Like I said, I used to think that he glided when he walked. He didn't walk, he was gliding, because you could not even identify when one foot landed and then the next foot stood up and landed again. He was just so smooth. That guy, he was gliding. Beautiful, beautiful, tall man. Okay? Yeah, but then I started working, they reshuffled our departments, and his team was moved to our floor. His team was moved to our, never mind floor, but section of cubicles. Yeah, type establishment thing, and he was just right there. He sat just right there. You could see the back of his head from where I was sitting. And the activity, his behavior was just so, it was a turnoff. He was such a flirt. He was such a Casanova. There was one woman that used to sit right opposite us. Right, these were our desks, and their desks were right in front of us. Yo, this girl, she would invite him to her desk and basically pull out a chair for him, and she would be twirling on her chin, while this guy was right there. And it turned me off so exquisitely, considering he had hinted that he wanted to holler at me. He wanted to talk to me. He had sent me gospel tracks and everything, gospel hip-hop music, because he found out that I'm Christian through some other chick in the office, as well as through my blog and what have you. First and foremost, I knew that he was married, but then one of his close chick friends in the office was one of my close girlfriends, and she told me that he got a divorce from his wife because I guess she was boring, proper. That was the only reason. She was boring, and he was always encircled by all of these flirting randos in the office, and he just felt like she was not career focused enough because she was a stay-at-home wife, and that thing was for him just taxing. So he left his wife for that. I was like, unbiblical reasons for divorce, for crying out loud. He is a red flag. Move on. So my decisions about this guy had already been made, but he did try to take me for a wife now that he was divorced from his wife, and my mind about him had already been made, given that I had made observations about him in this Casanovic capacity in the office, the flirtation right in front of me with this chick in his team, however, sitting in this particular area. of their department. And also, what is this? Just a disregard. It's almost as if though he was actively trying to make me feel, given that he was so flirtatious with this chick like right in front of me, that look, I'm so desired by all these other women, so therefore look at me. And for me, that was a massive, massive, massive turn off. But the guy had a Christian blog. He wrote Christian stuff that was entirely heretical and unbiblical, and he was trying to take me up. Now, that gliding, like, gracious monstrosity that was walking around, that was just exceptionally gorgeous, a wonderful, beautiful, physical man. Physically, he was beautiful, okay? A lot of women would run with just that, especially considering everybody wants him. So when a man like that pursues you, goodness gracious, all the women are going to look at you and say, what's so special about you? Why does he want to marry you? Because we all want him. And he was so good looking, that man, I promise you, and also so tall, and so he had a presence about himself that I kid you not, my mom would have liked him, my sisters would have liked him, the family would have been like, oh, Karabo found a man. They wouldn't have cared about his divorce, they wouldn't have cared about his kids, they wouldn't have cared about his, well, nobody in my family cares about true godliness anyway. They would have just been like, girl, here you banked big, when it would have been a loss, a severe loss. But the guy was a professing Christian. He spoke a whole bunch of Christianese, and he tried to lure me in. And guess what? Because of the way that I rejected him, he did not ask me out. He didn't get to. I made it clear that we're not going to talk, you and I. I basically passed him shade to make it clear that if you try to hit on me, I'm going to reject you. And for an alpha male with that kind of personality, there's no way that he was going to go in for the kill where it is that he was going to fail. Shortly after, my hints that this is never going to happen between you and I, no matter how much Christian material you might send me in a USB, trying to make me see where you're coming from, and also sending your friend to talk to me about how it is that you and I would make sense and whatnot. He's some female friend of his from another department. After that, he got embittered and made a decision that he's going to curse me into oblivion. He was one of my biggest afflictors from MTN with sorcery of that nature. It was dark. It was excruciatingly satanic. It's almost like he belonged to this guy, to a coven, right? He wasn't an amateur. What I'm trying to explain to you is that his sorcery was not amateur. It was not amateur. It was not just a little stupid Skorvela spell where you dream about being in strange, erotic situations with some weirdo that you didn't like before. That's amateur sorcery that a person goes and visits a sangoma to do. This guy's sorcery looked like it was supported by a coven. And, oh, guys, when I saw it, I didn't even understand it at the time, but I just brushed it off. There were guns involved. There was my life involved, essentially threat to it for refusing him. There was lots of coercion sexually in it. And, he never got to get to me, but he was trying to humiliate my reputation. And then after I lost everything, after I got fired from my job, I had, without cause, if you've been listening to my story, you would know what's going on. I then got a dream where it is that I saw the guy basically being like, I'll take care of you. I don't care that you've lost your job. I don't care that people don't like you, or that, basically you're being reviled. And, he liked me that much. His feelings for me were that strong that after I lost everything, I got a dream where he came to me in a dream and he was like, I'll take care of you. And in that dream, one of my siblings was so jealous of him wanting me anyway. And I looked at him and I was like, but this is who you are. And I'm not trying to be with you. And on top of that, I'm in love with someone else. I actually was in love with someone else at the time. So he then left me after that, alone after that. I have not seen sorcery from that dude ever since. He left it at that after I lost everything. But one thing that is certain is that he was prepared to take care of me after I lost everything. I did not lose everything because of him, though. He did not dare realize what he was messing with was my prospects for love. And he was very full of threatening as well. I also had a dream where it is that everybody was humiliating the living daylights out of me. And he walked out with me and carried me into the sunset, not caring that everybody basically could not care less about what's going on with me. Yeah, his feelings were strong. That is the kind of man that would end up causing the suicide of his wife. That is the kind of man that would end up causing, maybe even murdering his wife. There was, he was Christ professing. He had a whole bunch of, never mind was this dude Christ professing, but he was an active servant in the kingdom of heaven, in the sense that he had a Christian, like me. I had a blog where I was writing about God, like a person that would be respected in a church, like a brick and mortar church, because he's doing work for the Lord, while he is also, of course, focusing on his career and everything else and what have you. Like a man that took time out to actually write articles about Jesus, but they were heretical, entirely unbiblical. altogether. That's what, yeah, I read his blog. That's what I'm getting at. I read his blog, and as well written and as beautiful as his blog was, it was irrelevant because it was heresy. Okay, and his view, his take on marriage was also very irreverent. Entirely, it wasn't godly. He didn't have a Christ-like disposition about himself. One time I found him on Facebook because I went looking for him on Facebook because he was curious about me. And remember, I did at some point find him cute. So I did look for him on Facebook, and I found him. And I scrolled down his Facebook page, and I was bored and I was yawning the whole time until I happened upon a video that he had uploaded on Facebook where he was basically giving his take on relationships and what have you. And as I was listening to him speaking while he was saying all the right things, all I could do was just wag my head on some, this is why all the women keep throwing themselves at you. You sound wise, but you're actually a fool. You sound extremely wise. Any woman would fall, like hook, line, and sinker for this. They would think that upon being with you, they would be adored. But if at all those women were to see what you were like in the office with other women, you have no respect for your woman, for your wife. If you're going to flirt with every last female in the office, if you're going to let yourself, it's like he enjoyed that attention. And we get it. God blessed him greatly with a physical beauty. But as a man in Christ, in particular, you have got to understand that praise from the world, as tempting as it might be to just swim in it and, dip yourself in and out of it like a chocolate and donut, you are to exercise restraint and to also revere your relationship with your wife. As Christ loved the church, you have got to gouge out your eye, cut off your hand. You cannot be flirting with colleagues, with a woman at home. I just saw myself as this miserable wife with a man that everybody thinks is the best thing that ever happened to me. A man that the whole planet thinks, girl, do you know how many women out here be looking for a man? And for you to find one like that, alpha male from here to Timbuktu. Kind of man that would prosper to get a fourth wife, fifth wife, just because of how he looked, just because of how he carried himself, how he spoke, how eloquent he was, how he was an alpha male through and through, like pretty much everything that a worldly woman would jot down on paper as, this is my kind of man. But when you're in Christ, absolute turnoff. And that annoyed him, it irritated him about me because I was not falling all over his feet the way that other women were. And frankly, the only reason I wasn't falling all over his feet like other women were was because he was ungodly. Because initially I was spazzing over him just like everybody else. Initially, my girl and I were out here talking with each other on some, did you see the guy that lies? Oh my goodness, yo. Money the other day when he was on the phone. And then one day she rocks up and tells me, girl, he married. And both of us were like, we rolled our eyes and we're like, I guess moving on. Because both of us were single, thinking we were going to basically meet our husbands maybe in the building. Because there were a lot of viable, young, handsome, unmarried men, single men in the office. And we thought that maybe our husbands were there. And when we found out that he was married, we both were just like, ugh, whatever, right? This one female colleague of mine, ugh, whatever. Initially, I also was looking at him on some break me off a piece of that I proper was. So it was not that I was so special and so spectacular that I didn't find a handsome man handsome. It's that I didn't find a handsome man godly, and that was the turnoff. That was the turnoff. But you see, with godly women, we know to automatically avoid a man that is outwardly ungodly. But a man like the one from the office who speaks Christianese, is an apparent Christian, even has a Christian ministry, and when you go to his social media, he's out here uploading videos of counseling women, teaching women how to, be and how to look out for certain things in a man if he doesn't make sense. Like that video that I was listening to on Facebook, there was nothing about it that was outwardly wrong or erroneous or doctrinally false. Unlike his blog, which was just riddled with heresy, he was saying all the right things. But because I had read his blog and because I had observed his behavior in the office, even my curiosity to get to the point of even checking out his Facebook, that was inspired by the fact that at some point I thought he was cute. So essentially I was low-key considering his pursuit of me. That's why I went and fished him on Facebook. But I was already decidedly not going there. However, curious enough to go into his Facebook. And even though his Facebook post was not outwardly erroneous, like I said, nothing of fallacy was coming out of his lips. He was basically giving women pretty sound counsel, okay? Talking about how it is that you need to conduct yourself in this way because this is what the Bible says about godly conduct for a woman. I found it sound. If that had been the only thing I saw of him, I very potentially might have been melted. But it wasn't. It was in the backdrop of so many other red flags. So many other red flags. That is the kind of man that you will be so happy, so excited about marrying on your wedding day, that you might also be violently in love with on your wedding day, but end up so incredibly broken by, end up so just investedly shattered by, because he has no regard for your heart, no regard for your emotions, and on top of that, he's involved in the occult, so he's spiritually manipulating you. And then you learn, this is why you got a divorce. You were like this to your ex too. Like, you know when you think you're special from the ex-wife, until the two of y'all start to basically become kindred spirits in your experiences with a man, that's when a lot of women get sobered. That basically feel proud of being with a man that left another woman for them. They become kindred spirits somewhere along the way. They find out why this was messed up. They find out that that woman was not just a bitter broad out here upset because a man left her, but that she was just as feverishly afflicted as you are. As you are. When you are miserable, guys, when you're in love with a man and he's out here showing you flames, it can create a psychosis, like a deep one in you, where you will not be able to do anything at all for the day. Not eat, not drink, nothing. Just lose your mind. Just lose your mind. The love of God for the church is a jealous love. It is romantic. Do you understand? And if at all the Lord can send mankind to hell for being harlots against him, how much then ought you recognize how God feels about romantic love? That jealousy, it dwells in us too. So when you have jealous love for a man in that regard, in that he is yours only because he's your husband, and then he's just disregarding you, goodness gracious, kind of stuff to make a woman go crazy, kind of stuff to make a woman pull a trigger and shoot herself in the head, kind of stuff to make a woman maybe in and of herself kill a man, kind of stuff to cause a woman to become a psychiatric patient. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because romantic love is jealous, and it is the kind of jealousy that causes mental illness when it is not in a healthy space, when it is not regarded as worthy of being respected. If a man that you are jealously besotted with does not love you the way that Christ loved the church, it can drive you to insanity, maybe murder, or maybe suicide. And that's what happened with Mika Miller. Do not marry an ungodly man, even if as he walks, he doesn't walk, he glides. Even if he speaks such excellent Christianese that sometimes you might be made to twitch and glitch and disregard God feelings, guys. God feelings that dwell in your members, stuff that you could pick up very early on. The dude from MTN, even before he tried to pursue me, I'd already seen the red flags, and I was already avoid. My ex-boyfriend imagined him criminal. Let's now talk about the guy in America. Me and this drawing of these criminal men, goodness gracious. That one was a flat out like jailbird. He had been set free because of coronavirus. The prisons were not socially distanced sufficiently enough, and so they let the bugger go. California, that's the state he's from. Y'all know everybody crazy there. That's what's okay, not everybody, I apologize, but quite a lot of people are crazy there. It's the state where there's a whole bunch of purge laws where they have basically made it illegal for certain crimes to happen. Like, instead of one night a year, it's 365 days a year. So it's just become quite cantankerous over there. So it is no wonder that, it's just let a whole loose cannon free out in the wilderness. And I got brought into that space by my belief that he was a recovered criminal. In other words, he was a man that once was lost and now he's found, and so God has cleansed him from his former ways. Let the thief no longer steal. You get my point, that's what the Bible says. Let the fornicator no longer fornicate. Whatever. So I imagine that this was a thief that was no longer stealing, a murderer that was no longer killing, a destroyer that was no longer destroying, just like his father, the devil. I actually accommodated a man that was out of jail. So it's bad enough that my ex-boyfriend had a criminal streak and actually committed crimes against me and crimes against other people that did not press charges. So that's why he eluded prison. I not only went from that to a man that eluded prison, had never been in jail, had no criminal record, to one that was from jail. I mean, do you see how I was actually becoming my mama's daughter? I was becoming my mother's child in the worst way. Coddled out here in the crib from birth, to be the good girl that's always besooking some dude in jail. The whole time when I was with that guy, the Lord kept on telling me that you are going to visit this man in prison. He wanted to move to South Africa, and God was telling me that you are gonna end up seeing this guy in jail. He is still a criminal. Uzo besuka, just like your mom. You will besuka a man. You will go and visit a husband in prison. The whole time, there was never a time, from the moment the moment I was chatting with this guy, red flags. They were flying all over my grill, all up in my face, even giving me a paper cut. These red flags. And I ignored them until God made him so rude. God made him manifest such hard-knocked demons that there was no way under heaven that I could stay in there. And on top of that, I tried to reconcile and he ghosted me. He ghosted me. And then during the season of ghosting, I got over him. And then when he tried to come back, I was like, ew. I also suspected richly that he was involved in sorcery because the Holy Spirit was telling me, but I was ignoring my gut. Do you know what made him manifest hard-knocked demons? The fact that I was fasting. We went into a fast. The two of us, we were fasting for our future. And during the fast, because I'm born again, truly some demons only come out with fasting and prayer. He couldn't help but manifest demons. He was not truly saved. I was saved and I was fasting. And during my fast, he was just out here. What do you want with us, son of man? Out here bringing out a legion and a sister girl. And it was so bad. What whipping he got as a seventh son of Sceva from his demons for trying to be in the presence of the Holy Spirit, that he shot himself in the foot by ghosting and continuing to add insult into the injury of a woman that he couldn't afford to ignore. And then when his demons subsided and calmed down because the fast was long over now, he tried to come back using witchcraft, using all different kinds of stuff. He even went and took an HIV test and it came back positive because he was a fornicator. He was still busy sleeping around. It was a one-night stand that got him infected. What is this? After he got out of prison. It was not even before. So he was healthy in prison, so he was better off staying in jail. He might have served his time and come out actually truly saved. Prison was probably the best thing for him because there he was giving himself some self-delusion that he's born again. Man, always in the Bible, all that jazz. He spoke a whole bunch of Christianese, but the red flags were all over my face from the get-go. Here it is that a girl is out just gliding in mama generational curses, accommodating yet another bandit, properly not even seeing it for what it is. You gonna be out here going to Sun City prison and Mora be the modern version, wherever he finds himself. Fetching a man all the way in America that is going to make you do that which you once told some other criminal that you dated long ago, that I don't want to besook my husband. I don't want to visit a man in jail. I don't want to do that. Outside of Carfax, music out here pumping, and the dude and I are sitting in a car being all boring while everybody else is having a good time because I'm out here counseling a man before we go inside to have a good time. That I don't want to besook you with your criminality. And then I end up with one that, never mind, I will highly likely besook, but proper, the statistics are that he comes from there. And guess what? His second wife, because he was married twice before, guys. God have mercy, right? The red flags were everywhere. He was married twice. The second wife, the first time he was in and out of prison. The first time when he went to jail, to prison, I do believe that he went there because of domestic violence against her, but he would not confess that fully when I was probing further, deeper into it. And she felt bad and she would besook him, and he was there only for 2 years. And she would keep on going to him every however long, going to go and see her man, baby this, baby that, taking his daughter, because it was his daughter, not hers, to go see dad and everything, because the guy was coming out. He gets out of jail, and then he gets himself in trouble again. And the second time around, she was like, I'm not doing this. The second time around, she was like, I'm not doing this. She did not go and see him the second time. She did not besook him. And when then COVID-19 set him free, the bugaboo realized that on the date of his release, that the wife was pregnant, but he wasn't sure if she was pregnant because he says that he asked her, are you pregnant? And she denied it because she was already a fat girl. She was one of those where a pregnancy can just go undetected because she's kind of big already. And until like a baby came out, and it was actually in the grapevine that a baby came out. It like proper. So that's what then caused him to get a divorce, because she went and had 2 children by 2 different baby daddies, because she did not think he was ever coming out, which makes me wonder how long was he supposed to go for, because she literally wrote him off. And she told herself that she's got all these, like, biological clock is ticking. She did not even bother to get a divorce while he was in jail. Like, she was just like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing what, like, do you want me to just sit around waiting for you? You want me to I'm a woman, I've got needs, and like I said, biological clock is ticking. I'm not gonna wait here until I'm menopause. And she didn't have any children of her own. She was busy out here taking care of his daughter. And she was like, I'm gonna go. Like, I totally get why that woman did that. He was that level of irresponsible. So just in the same way that chick went and besooked him the first time, then the next time decided not to, I was in that pathway. I was in the line of fire for that. to basically be a woman that Archie tries to counsel a man to make sense. The first time around, I'm having his back and what have you. And then he just keeps going back to jail. Just keeps going back to jail. Like, that dude was worse. He's the worst man I have ever been with. Worst man I've ever accommodated. And guess what? I accommodated him as a Christian. What are you doing, Karabo? I was sorrowful. I was in pain. And he provided for me. That guy reeled me in with provision. Do you understand? I was poor. I was bankrupt. I was going through a lot. I didn't have basic needs. Stuff was just falling apart in my life. And this dude gave me, he was American, so it was also dollars, a lot of money. And that provision made me feel pampered, comforted, catered to, loved as a woman. And it caused me to have feelings for him. It caused me, because nobody was loving me, nobody was caring for me. And it made me think that this was a criminal that was, what do you call this? No longer, let he who steals no longer steal. I imagined he was he who stole that no longer stole. I don't even know where that money that he used to give me came from. It was because of him that my car got serviced finally after years of just sitting around gathering dust. It was, yeah, that dude, as in, anyway, whatever, he provided quite handsomely for me. And I tried to stick around to basically just kind of patch things up with him. He was the one that passed me shade because I was so uncertain about him. I was so uncertain, and I kept on poking and prodding away at him, and that's what also caused him to be very rude. Like, he hated my questions. He did not want me questioning him a lot. I also wanted to ask him, how do you make money? I didn't quite get around to asking him that because he was definitely not employed. He was certainly not employed. And yet the dude would just send me transactions that are quite hefty. So, I don't know, like, yeah, he was a criminal. He was a criminal. He was, like, yeah, I don't even, like, yeah, he still hasn't gotten caught again by the state of California. But then again, they're dropping the ball quite a lot there. He ever since then has very unfortunately been the bane of my existence with a lot of witchcraft. He has been afflicting me with voodoo. He is, oh guys, this guy, he's stalking the living daylights out of me. He is crushing me to a fine powder. Crushing me to a fine powder. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I've been fighting that dude to a point of getting dark circles underneath my eyes for the past 2 years. That was when he was all up in my grill 2 years ago. And I'm still fighting him to this day. Certain of the strongholds that he afflicted me with, I have only just recently broken. And the Lord has only just recently given me some kind of breakthrough from him. But that is the kind of man that if I had ended up married to, he wouldn't have cared about my depression. He wouldn't have cared about how sad I was. He was busy with me with sorcery. He wouldn't have cared about how ungodly he was. He would have driven me to, I don't know where, guys, but somewhere not good. Just like Micah Miller, a God-professing man that is actually a pastor. The story of Micah Miller has it that a woman, a pastor's wife, unalived herself. She committed suicide. She got a divorce. She had filed for divorce. She went to a store and bought a gun. It's caught on camera and everything, and shot herself to death. This man was unfaithful. A pastor of a church. He was a pastor. Is a pastor of a church. He was unfaithful. That's why they got a divorce. They were getting one. She had filed for one. Pastor. She had done a whole bunch of videos talking about how it is that you mustn't let anybody make you feel like you're lesser than nothing. We understand God hates divorce, but you are first the bride of Christ before you are the bride of any man. She was basically complaining about her husband, not in so many words in her videos. I implore you to go and watch the story of Micah Miller. M-I-C-A Miller, like the drink. Yeah. Go and look up this woman and listen to her story very carefully. You will hear of a woman that entered into a marriage with a Christ-professing man that actually was speaking a lot of Christianese that ended up just not loving her. One guy, Vision Unsealed, the way that he covered it, he used Vodi Bakham's sermon on the love of a man for a wife, and he was like, husbands that don't love their wives, you are without excuse. Because God tells you love wives as Christ loved the church. And if you feel as if though your wife is giving you grief or whatever, for whatever reason, then you have to love one another. By this men will know that you're my disciples. Love one another. So even if you don't love her because she's your wife, you gotta love her just because she's a disciple. And if that does not work out for you, then love your neighbor as yourself. If at all you feel like she's so distant that she's not even a believer because you were accusing her of being apostate, you gotta love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemy. You have absolutely, this is what Vodi Bakham is saying, I'm paraphrasing, you have no excuse to not love your wife. Men have absolutely no excuse to not love their wives. And Micah Miller died because she was an unloved woman who God married. It's written in God's word, in the proverb somewhere, that the earth shakes and it cannot bear up under these 4 things. One of them is an unloved woman who gets married. When you enter into a marriage as a woman and you are besotted with your husband and he does not show you any love and he is unfaithful and all that jazz, it can drive you to death. It can drive you to suicide. She was filing for divorce and this guy likely was acting very aloof and nonchalant. Could not care less. And so she killed herself. And then a waitress came forward that at a restaurant where he was eating, that he tipped quite heavily and put his number on the bill. And basically with a smiley face saying, call me. And he kept on calling. This waitress came forward at the interview. God is exposing these wolves in sheep's clothing. This waitress spoke about how it is that this man kept on calling her hot, asking for photos of her in a bikini. This is a pastor. This is a pastor asking a waitress, a woman he's not married to, for pics of her in a bikini, calling a woman hot that is not his wife. A man that runs a whole church calling another woman hot and asking her to send him photos of her in swimwear. Guys, and then on Sunday he goes and preaches. No love for his wife. No, nothing. It drove Micah to suicide. But I would go so far as to say Micah probably knew, and indeed there's an interview that was done with one of her friends, Micah's friends, who said that, and in this interview she was talking about how it is that her friend was telling her, thank you for giving me gentle hints during the time that I was married to him, that I was in the wrong place altogether. I just knew it. Essentially, Micah was telling her girl that she just knew that this man did not make sense at all, but she was blinded by love. Blinded by love. The very thing that I'm talking about when a man does not walk but he lies. You can be blinded by love, and his Facebook post out here counseling women in Christ and him sounding so shepherdy. Blinded by love. A man that looks so good that your mother just dotes over him. Oh, have you seen have you seen my grandson? My mother would have loved that guy. The one from MTN. The whole family would have loved that guy. He was such a leader. He used to do, every time at MTN, whenever there would be like random funny weird things going on, he was the one that was doing speeches. Like he was the one that was doing the MC. He was an MC. He was well-spoken, well-respected, well-regarded, doing really well. Great man on paper. So Papa, you would have been an unappreciative and you would have been viewed as an unappreciative and an ungrateful wife when you complain about a man that everybody loves so much. When a man is suffering severely from narcissistic personality disorder, everybody will blame you for being the naysaying, dampening wife that's always complaining, always crying, while everybody is celebrating your man. Everybody is like, rah, rah, great guy. He glides, he doesn't walk. But you know how he treats you at home, he doesn't care. Remember yesterday I spoke about Sam Smith's song, You and Me, We Made a Vow. How God uses the example of that gorgeous woman who is the wife of that dude in that music video, and yet he cheats on her with some floozy that doesn't even come close, doesn't compare. A man that's gonna go and grab a woman that surpasses them all, that does excellently, wearing fine linen and purple, a woman that is much better than them all, and cheat on her with somebody that is rottenness in the bones of a man, that makes a man want to live on the corner of a roof, that is a dripping tap, that makes a man want to live in a desert. You know that what's spoken about an immoral woman, a contentious woman, a woman that is so horrible that she's like rottenness in his bones, goes and cheats on you with a woman like that. When you are an excellent wife, who can find? But like, this guy picked you up like a rinya lucky packet and underestimated the living daylights out of you, and then cheated on you. And then when you complain, everybody's like, but like, your husband is so amazing. He's got money. He's well spoken. He is regarded. He's revered. He's handsome. Look at your children. They're so beautiful. Yeah, but like, he's ungodly and he doesn't love you. And every time you raise issues, you're whining again. You're complaining again. He then starts to basically tune you out as just a broken record every time you raise these problems. You're just a broken record. I mean, when you feel that disregarded by somebody that the whole world thinks is amazing. Amazing. Do you understand? You might end up grabbing a gun and killing yourself, like the woman went to a gun store and bought a gun, called 911, and then killed herself so that her body would not decompose for days before getting found. That's how lonely she was. She called the ambulance, the paramedics, so they would come and get her soon and send her to the mortuary soon, so that she does not. You get my point. When you look at that woman, please go look at her story, please. I implore you. She is so beautiful. She is so gorgeous. It's like you would ask yourself, why would a man cheat on a woman like this? When a man is unfaithful, he's unfaithful, he's unfaithful. It's written in God's word, a faithful man, who can find? Who can find? They're rare, they're hard to come by. That's why women, you have to wait. That's why you cannot allow your biological clock that's ticking to dictate to you how quickly you get married, or to just grab anybody off the shelf because he proposed to you, or some dude that's like twice divorced. Why is he twice divorced? They always are just blaming the women. You need to wait because you don't want to end up committing suicide because the man that everybody loves is ignoring the living daylights out of you, reverse psychology, gaslighting you, treating you like you are nothing, just whining again, complaining again. A man that calls waitresses hot, gives them their number, talks like a worldly man, hot, sexy, send me pics of you in a bikini. He's a pastor. Why is he not scared that he's going to get exposed? You will know them by their fruit. You tend to have gut feelings, guys. Gut feelings. And the story of Micah Miller, it just speaks volumes to the very thing that I've been speaking about right now. You think I'm foolish, me, Karabo. At 39, I'm turning 40 this year in just a couple of months. Being single. You think I'm foolish because I've passed up. Essentially, this dude from America, there's another one in South Africa that wanted to marry me years ago. There's presently a horde of satanic men that are out there on some, you are dumb. I'm offering you a ring. I'm offering you a white gown. Now we get to have a beautiful day with you, a photo op, taking photos, getting lifted in the sky. Hey, like a little baby. I'm awarding you while you still got your looks, while you're still pretty. Smile for the camera, Karabo, and say I do to a man. And you are passing me up. Oh, you will turn 50 then single. Yeah, it's at least better than a body bag where I ended my own life, uncertain as to what happened to me therefore in eternity. It's better than me killing myself because of the fact that I'm so miserable, frustrated by a man that's not acting right where I am concerned. It's better than ending up like Micah Miller. A woman that could not even save her own life for the sake of her children because she was that miserable. When love goes wrong, it can drive a person to that extremity, guys. That extremity of unaliving herself, or otherwise known as suicide, because I feel like that word can be used on YouTube. Yeah, that's the risk that you are facing. Stories of Micah Miller, it's confirmation of everything I've been talking about. Like that woman when she was busy talking about God, speaking about how it is that she's first the bride of Christ before she is the bride of a man. And videos of her even popped up in these coverages of her suicide. Of her, she was guys, as you know, when a woman is so beautiful, like goodness, she was gorgeous first and foremost. Like outwardly just really beautiful. Nothing out of place. Not a single hair out of place. Okay? That's the first thing. Physically, exceptionally gorgeous. And then just the pure soul that you can listen to just by listening to her testimonies, the videos that she was uploading online, highlighting even, the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sins. She tried to hide the fact that her husband was abusing her by using all different kinds of metaphors. She was using all different kinds of different language to conceal. She didn't say it verbatim, and she didn't say it in exactly those words that I was being abused, in order to protect a pastor of a church. And then, listen to this, y'all know how ethereal and absolutely lovable artistic women are. She was part of the worship team. She was a musician. She was a singer. She could sing. She was a singer. She led worship in the church where she was wifey to this man. So, I mean, imagine a woman that gorgeous, that out here also gives people goosebumps when she starts singing. What kind of a man falls out of love with that? She was still young. Not a single wrinkle on her face. What man stops loving a woman like that? It tells you that your beauty is not going to save you. Your gorgeous body, this guy out here calling waitresses hot. There's a photo of her at the beach, modestly clothed. She's not in a bikini or whatever, right? But she's wearing like, what do you call this? Like leggings and a t-shirt and holding like, I think, a surfboard. And you can tell from just that picture that she had a toned physique. She was a beautiful woman. That man had nothing missing. He had everything he needed. And this is like proper. I'm not trying to mock or diss the waitress, but she slayed even the waitress that he was busy calling hot. The waitress did not compare to her in glory. That's what I'm getting at. That's how beautiful this woman was. And just like that, snuffed off from the timeline. Just like that. Because some man wouldn't love her. But hey, he was a pastor. He spoke all the right things. He was respected by his congregation. And even when he delivered the news of his wife's death, he was just like, my wife is dead. She killed herself. She had mental illness issues. It did not give any kind of appropriate response or appropriate communication about something very grieving like that. Something so bereaving. And also the waitress that came forward with the understanding that she gave to the news media also said that she connected the dots between her and him somewhere along the way. And then she asked him, so what's new? What's new? What's sufficed in your life? And he said, nothing new, LOL, literally shortly after his wife had passed away. And that's when she was like, these are red flags. I am not calling this guy ever again. That is a man claiming to be of God, professing Christ, however, does not know him from a bar of soap. And that's what happened to his wife. So women, when I say, listen to your gut feeling, because you tend to be given, even if you're not born again, but more so are you likely to be given it by God? That warning when you are saved, when you are consecrated. I am not warning you right now about guys that are obviously worldly. Like the dude is in the club every weekend. Duh. You're not going to be with that guy. It's the ones that are like Micah Miller's husband, out here running a whole church, calling himself a pastor, out here writing a whole blog, giving you USBs that have got gospel music in them, doing Facebook posts, talking about how it is that as women, this is what men want in you, and this is how to conduct yourself. Basically, he was giving almost like a Proverbs 31 sermon. It's those guys that I'm out here warning you about, and it's those ones that are also all up in my grill. It's those ones that are trying to forcibly break down doors to come into my life. I'm warning you about them because they killed Micah Miller. God-professing men that don't know God from a bar of soap, but that insist on some of the baddest chicks in the kingdom of heaven. You will commit suicide, do you understand? Because of that man. Or you will in and of yourself kill. Or you will lose your mind until you're in a psychiatric hospital in a stray suit. Be afraid, be very afraid, flee. I was on my way to being Micah Miller, but God snatched me out of that situation because I was fasting. Why under heaven would you walk down the aisle to a man that you feel so strongly is going to hurt you? You tend to know on day one, so by the time you are walking down the aisle, you're just wasting yourself. You're squandering your future. I keep saying, women, even if it means you must cancel the wedding, you must lose the money for the venue, even 2 days in advance or on the day, it's better than ending up like Micah Miller. All these men that insist on coming into your life, they will use Karabo for 20 years until you finally say yes. Yours is to hold fast to Christ until he disintegrates them like the sand. The one at MTN disintegrated like the sand. The one from the US is integrating like the sand, and they will continue to integrate like the sand until you are finally on solid ground, marrying the man that the Lord set apart for you. To love you as Christ loved the church. Out here walking in that sermon that Vodi Bakum gave, making it clear that there is no excuse for a man to not love his wife. I hope you've been edified. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Cran K. Peace.